Have you ever imagined what it would be like to travel back to the Soviet country of the 1970s with its then popular maxim, down you lie or up you stand, either way you'll earn a grand? Every citizen in our country would be guaranteed a full-time job and a fixed salary regardless of how well they performed and regardless of whether they tried their hardest or not. But we might be able to go even further than that. We could make the government pay regardless of whether one is employed or not, and from that point on you would no longer have to worry about your survival on a daily basis. Instead of sacrificing your time to make money, you could devote it to your education and development. Instead of having to take the first job offer you receive, you can choose the one which is most suitable for you. Doesn't that sound encouraging? Do you think it offers a real solution to the modern world's problems, or is it simply some socialist utopia? Perhaps we are witnessing the beginning of a revolution triggered by an economic proposal that is gaining popularity among experts in Silicon Valley and among politicians in the Nordic countries. That economic proposal is the Universal Basic Income, or UBI. Many countries have already experimented with free money as governments struggle with changing labor and strained welfare systems. Hello and welcome back to the Finance Guardian channel. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the definition, the pros and the cons of the UBI. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, and let's get started. First off, what is Universal Basic Income? A universal basic income is a government-sponsored program that provides all citizens or eligible residents with a fixed monthly payment. This type of government benefit is designed to reduce the financial burden on country residents so that they can focus on education, improving their job skills, or dealing with personal matters while having enough income to meet basic living needs. There are no set criteria for who receives this income since these programs are either experimental or still in development. It is proposed that all citizens receive it no matter how much money they make. However, others propose that it should go only to those below a specific income level. According to some, government-sponsored income is neither necessary nor fair for everyone. How does universal basic income work? Essentially, universal basic income programs relies on using government tax revenues to provide income to all people living within a government's jurisdiction. A state or federal government would direct a certain amount of tax revenues to this program, which would then be distributed to residents. Economists Callie Mooney and Debridge Ray, for example, proposed a payment system based on a country's economic output. They suggest that 10 to 12% of GDP should be directed toward universal income payments. With this setup, payments would fluctuate in accordance with our economic output. In 1962, another method was proposed by economist Milton Friedman, which was a negative income tax. However, Friedman's idea is more in line with GBI, where only specific people can receive the benefit. His concept would be to provide a tax credit to those below an established income level. The cost could be borne by taxes collected from families earning over a certain level. What is UBI designed for? By having a universal basic income, everyone could receive a level of income to pay for basic needs such as food, housing, and clothing, while also receiving additional financial assistance if needed during times of hardship, such as when the COVID-19 pandemic occurred. Employers scaled down operations to comply with mandated safety guidelines, which cost many people their incomes. Consequently, unemployment rose and the federal government stepped in and provided more unemployment benefits to help those in need. In certain events like a pandemic, some have argued that a UBI may have reduced the need for government to provide unemployment insurance to supplement people's incomes. What are the benefits of universal basic income? Ending poverty. UBI advocates that the program will help raise everyone's income above the poverty line. Author of Give People Money, Annie Lowrey, said in an interview with Vox, "We have just tons of experimental data from the US, from other countries, from Iran, from all around the world that shows that if you give people money, it reduces poverty. Just really straightforward." Discouraging low wages. A UBI would provide enough security to employees to enable them to bargain. Lowry has said, "Why take a crummy job for $7.25 an hour when you have a guaranteed $1,000 a month to fall back on?" Redistributing wealth. While economic growth in high-income countries has made the rich richer, it has had very little impact on the working class. Economist Thomas Piketty has brought up the concept of an inheritance for all. As he explained to the London School of Economics in 2020, if you look at today's situation, the average wealth in France or Britain is about 200,000 euros per adult, and the median wealth will be closer to 100,000 euros per adult, but the bottom 50% own virtually nothing. Around 5% of total wealth is owned by the bottom 50%, which means that they have on average 1/10 of the average wealth. about 20,000 euros instead of 200,000 euros. They own very little, and this is true within all age groups. It's not that the young are poor and are about to become rich. Some of them are just about to become rich, but on average, the concentration of wealth is just as large within each age group. This inequality could be reduced with a universal basic income. Fighting technological unemployment. Technological advances will end up taking over more and more blue and white collar jobs over the next few decades, so UBI advocates say it will act as a sort of security net for millions of people who will find themselves jobless during the technological revolution. Research conducted for the Federal Reserve Bank of New York found that it takes longer to find employment the longer you're unemployed. By providing jobless individuals with a small source of income, they may be able to find new employment and start contributing to the economy sooner. Think of it as monopoly. The majority of people intuitively assume that jobs lead to financial wealth, but the reality is that having money actually leads to jobs. Without the privilege of wealth, it's harder to build a life that makes finding a job easier. To land a job, you'll need a house with a shower, a set of appropriate interview clothes, and money to cover transportation and food while you work. Even more money is needed if you want to contribute to the economy on a greater scale and start your own business. The game of Monopoly starts off with a little bit of money for everyone. Without it, the game wouldn't work and no one would ever become rich or successful. In UBI, just like in Monopoly, every individual starts with a little bit of cash and they use it to fuel a flourishing economy. If UBI is successfully implemented, food security, stress, mental health, physical health, housing, education, and unemployment would all improve. What are the possible disadvantages of universal basic income? Inequity. A universal basic income would be exactly that, universal. This means that all people, regardless of how rich or how poor, would receive the same amount of money. In 2020, Stephen Bush of The New Statesman wrote that he was more open to the idea of universal basic income after all, but added, most of the time when we talk about a universal benefit going to people who don't need it, we're talking about sufficiently small numbers that it doesn't really matter either way. To give high earners an extra £960 a month, however, would hand them serious financial firepower to entrench their advantages, whether in saving to buy property, paying for private education, or any number of other socioeconomic advantages. Cost. UBI could be very expensive to implement. In the United States, it is estimated to be about $3.9 trillion per year. And in the UK, the cost of reworking the tax and benefit system is estimated to be around £28 billion. A UBI is intended to relieve healthcare pressure and reduce the need for Social Security, but these numbers are still very large for a government to budget for. Motivation to work. There is concern that UBI will cause millions of workers to stop working. With more people not working, taxable income decreases. Nonetheless, people may stop working for reasons that benefit society as a whole, like getting a better education or taking care of a sick relative. Philosophical counter-arguments. Is money a birthright? Capitalist societies are built on the premise that money is something you earn and that UBI would tamper with this concept. Some believe that UBI recipients should be required to do community service in order to receive it. So is the universal basic income a good idea? The honest answer is that we just don't know yet. More research and extensive test runs need to be conducted. There needs to be more thought about what kind of UBI we want and how much we are willing to give up to get it. There is a huge potential for this program. It might be the most promising model for eliminating poverty in the long run. It might also dramatically reduce the amount of desperation in the world and the amount of stress we all suffer. And that is all the time that we have today, folks. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do hit that like button. If you're new around here, subscribe to our channel to remain updated about all of our future videos. We'll see you next time.